Today I want to balance off what I said last Sunday, and I asked all of you to consider how you could be more involved in the world so that you can make positive change. Now I'm going to ask you to do the exact opposite, and that is I don't want you to do anything. I don't want you to get involved, I don't want you to worry about the problems of the world, I just want you to simply bow in prayer, give your anxieties to God, and to trust that God will do something new. Now, all of this seems quite perplexing, I realize that, and it seems an absolute contradiction. But there is a reason for this, because I think most of you are aware of this in your own life, that while you need to act to make the world a better place, which is very good and true to do, it is also doubly true that sometimes you have to just stand back and wait for something to happen. Something that happens because God is making it happen. And that you need to realize you've done everything you can. And you need to wash your hands and release that person into your life of prayer. But before I get into that topic, let's just look at the readings that are provided for you today. Now, the book of Esther was written about halfway through the 2nd century BCE. It's a wonderful story about a woman who is a Jewess. Her name is Esther. Esther hides her Jewishness, marries the king of a large empire in Persia. She's part of the Jewish dispersia of that empire in those days, and she's hidden her Jewishness and falls in love with the king. She never reveals her background or her particular prejudices as a Jew. This is not known to the king at that time. Now, Ahab is like the prime minister, and he has a plan to get rid of the Jews because they're a troublesome lot. They seem to be, if you will, infecting their society. And so what he wants to do is get rid of them. He wants to annihilate them on a mass scale, and he's making plans for their preparation. Now, Mordecai is an uncle to Esther. Mordecai reveals the plan that the prime minister has, which the king is unaware of at this time. He's totally oblivious to this great plan of mass execution. And what he does is he reaches out to her, he speaks to her and tells her the truth. And finally she breaks down and tells her husband, I'm a Jew. And what you're doing to my people is wrong. The king, greatly surprised, although not upset that she's a Jew, says that he will do whatever he can to help the situation, which he does. Eventually, he arrests Haman, the prime minister, and has him executed, and peace reigns in the land. And at the same time, Esther opens up to her own faith without having to hide it from her husband, who is king. And Mordecai replaces Haman as prime minister. Now, this is a true historical fact. We know this. This is what happened. This is not a fable or a tale. But the people of Israel always once a year celebrate what is called Purim, which is this very story of how they were able to overturn circumstances that were wielding against them as a people. And what I want you to pay attention in this story, if you read the whole book of Esther, it doesn't say anything much about God. But yet God is very much in behind the scenes of the actors involved. And he wields the circumstances to Israel's favor, to their representatives in Persia. Now, James, he writes something very extraordinary, something that also makes a lot of common sense to the early Christian church. And he is the one who stayed in the Jerusalem area while Paul and others reached out to the Gentile population. And he was saying, as brother to Jesus, we must pray. We must pray for the sick. We must pray for those who are lost. We must pray like Elijah did, in which he held back the waters for 3.5 years and then called it back to replenish the land. Like Elijah, we are people of prayer. We take our concerns to God first. And it is there that God hears us and works with us. Prayer has to be the first paramount importance of what it means to be Christian. And if you don't pray, you're in trouble. Not because you've lost faith in God, not because not praying is a sin. I would never say that. But because you're trying to go it alone on your own level of strength and purpose, rather than learning to lean on the everlasting arms of the one who can cradle you and help you to do that which is right in a very broken world. And finally, in the Gospel of Mark, and I just want to concentrate on the first part of it. There's a lot of things being said in that particular story, but I just want to concentrate on the one exchange Jesus makes. So this man who doesn't belong to us uses my name and he heals. What problem do you have with that? Well, he's not part of our group, the disciples say. And then Jesus says the extraordinary statement, he who is not for us will not also be against us. Let us embrace this man because he's part of the greater plan. Just because God works with you and me doesn't mean that God isn't working with that man over there. Leave him alone. Let him do the work that he believes he needs to do. All right, you want to help others? Get out of the way. The worst thing you can do is help a person who doesn't want your help. And when a person doesn't want your help, leave them alone. There is nothing for you to do. There is nothing that you can do, and I don't care how hard you work to help your loved one who is incapacitated or may suffer from mental or psychological issues or may be downplayed by poor economic times. Leave them alone. Let them deal with their circumstances. Let them have responsibility for their life. Don't coddle them. Don't cradle them. Help them to grow up and to be mature people who can make decisions for themselves, just like all of you have done in the past. Now, what I say sounds contradictory to Christianity, because we are there to help the helpless. We are there to level the playing field. We're supposed to be agents of justice for transformation, for a new world. Yes. But it only goes so far by our will. At the end of the day, it's that person who has to make that decision, and they have to wrestle with it alone. So why are you putting such energy out? Why are you draining yourself in a mass of life that seems to be stalled and spinning out of control? Our Old Testament lesson has this to tell us. God works with what he has made. He plays with what he has created. He adores this world. And he has inhabited your life and the life of many other people. And just because they're not listening doesn't give you the right to sell them a bill of goods. All you can do is pray for them. All you can do is silently go to your room on bended knee and pray for them. But you can't solve their problem. I grew up with a father who was the son of an alcoholic. I also grew up in a home where my mother was very sick. And as a child growing up, the mantra was, don't disturb your mother. She's very sick. Be quiet. Be careful what you say. At 10 years old, I didn't go to school for about a week, caring for my mom. That's how sick she was. And at the same time, I was careful with what I said to my mother, because she could turn on me in a split second. And my father, who was away at work, did not want my mother to be upset, because he grew up in an alcoholic home where his father beat his mother every weekend. Don't disturb the apple cart. Now, my father was an excellent manager of men, 310. He was an excellent administrator, perfect to the T, diplomatic to the core, never sided one way or the other. But I grew up very distorted about life. You mean I can't disagree with you? You mean I can't tell you how I really feel? Do you mean that I have to watch your reaction with everything that I say